All right, thank you for joining me today on Freelancer School. I am Mike Volkin, and today we're joined with a special guest, RJ McCollam. He's a freelance web developer working from Broken Arrow, Oklahoma. Having freelanced since 2008, he has also focused on helping other freelancers through his podcasts, his blogs, his courses, and his project management app, Hector. He's a very busy man. We'll talk about some of those, what I just mentioned here, especially his podcast. He shares his actual experience in an attempt to encourage those wanting to either start freelancing or move into full-time freelancing. So we have the same mission, and he wants to focus on useful advice and attainable goals for someone who's just getting started. Same with me. So let's go ahead. Welcome to the show, RJ.
Thanks so much for having me.
So tell me about Hector and why you developed it.
So freelancers don't typically work on teams. Freelancers are working with either a large group of people. And for the longest time, everybody that I worked with, I always tried to find like this perfect way to manage all of our products. And I couldn't find it because you either manage your own stuff or you manage stuff on a team. But I needed, if I was working with 3 different people, I needed client A to not be able to see client B, et cetera, et cetera. And so it just seems stupid to me, really, that there wasn't a way to see all of the things that were on my plate in one place, regardless of who I was working with. And that's what sparked Hector.
That's great. It sounds like a very useful tool. I'm sure we'll get into that. And I'll put a link to this in the show notes so all of our audience can go and check it out. But you're a WordPress developer at heart, right?
At the end of the day, 90% of what I do day in and day out is custom WordPress theme development.
Yeah. So we get this a lot. We get this question a lot is how do I separate myself from all the competitors? And certainly as a WordPress developer, you have no shortage of competitors. So amongst the sea of competition out there, especially overseas contractors who will, let's be frank, work for pennies on the dollar, how do you compete with that?
To be honest with you, it's actually really easy. You just do what you say you're going to do. WordPress is a huge platform, which means there's lots of competition, just like you said. And a lot of people, they don't follow through, or they take the shortcut to get as little done as possible in order to get the invoice paid or whatever. And just being able to come through, listen to people what they want, and deliver that. It's simple. I mean, I wish I had some silver bullet answer, but it's actually that easy.
I think that is a silver bullet answer. I tell my my students all the time, don't worry about your competitors. Just focus on your brand and what you can deliver, and it'll all fall into place. It might not seem like that. It might seem like an easy solution, but really that's what you have to do. The people that want to hire people from overseas at $4 an hour, those aren't your ideal clients anyway, right?
Exactly.
At what point did you decide to become a full-time freelancer?
It's kind of always been the end goal. I've been freelancing for just over 10 years now. And as of in a few months, it'll be 6 years full time. And so that was always the goal. So that's always what I was moving towards. And, long story short, having only made $15,000 the previous year in freelancing with the support of my wife, I quit my job. We had 3 months of our bills paid, and it was like, it's time to put up or shut up. This is either going to work and I'm going to do it, or I'm not. And 6 years later, I'm more successful than I've ever been.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that success, what has been maybe the one or top couple contributing factors that have stuck out in your mind?
For me, that's easy. It's relationships. At the end of the day, I wouldn't be where I'm at and have the workload that I have without relationships. So just like, how do you set yourself apart from the competition when there's so much? It's just wanting to do good and wanting to, deliver for people. And it's certain key relationships that I've invested in have paid dividends in terms of getting me in the door somewhere. I work with people all over the country. I almost never leave my house that often. I work remote, and it's because of these relationships that I've had opportunities that I've been able to step into and deliver. And I have relationships that, last 5, 6, 7, 8 years now.
That's the goal. Yeah. And I think another answer to your question might be complacency, because I noticed on your, you have a blog titled "Complacency Killed the Freelance Star." Can you explain the dangers of a successful freelancer or even a growing freelancer, being complacent?
It's really tough. Obviously, as a freelancer, you have your specialty, which you do. And regardless of what it is, whether you're a developer, designer, content writer, or whatever, everything changes. Technology, skill sets, social media upended a bunch of stuff. And if you get comfortable, and you become complacent, you're just going to get left behind. It's just a matter of time. So that's my number one fear is just, gosh, things are going well. I don't want to rock the boat too much. And in fact, I've had some talks with a partner of mine this year about, gosh, things are going so good, but like, I feel like we're just sitting still. So that's something that even now with a, quote unquote level of success, I still worry about all the time.
So yeah, I mean, that's great advice, but a freelancer listening to this might say, okay, fine, RJ, I won't be complacent. Like, what are there action items to put in place? I mean, do you put something in your calendar every month to say, let's be sure you're not being complacent? Like what can someone physically do to practice not being complacent?
I think you just hit the nail on the head. Practice, right? Push yourself out of your comfort zone. Obviously, I'm a developer, so that's the easiest example to give. And I build custom WordPress themes. And, WordPress is changing all the time itself. So I need to be able to step into new technologies or the way that they do something. And I need to at least experience it. Maybe I don't go full force into it, but you just have to step out of the comfort zone and try something that you haven't. Maybe that's marketing. Maybe that's a different, place to get clients or anything along those lines, but you just got to step out.
Yeah, I like that. I do that in my personal life every year. I know it sounds cheesy, but New Year's resolution I started doing a couple of years ago. I do one thing that I think is going to make me uncomfortable. So a couple of years ago, I made a goal to go skydiving, which I did. This year, I made a goal to do a stand-up comedy act, which I did.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
that'll get you uncomfortable.
silly, but I think in terms of complacency, a lot of it is education, is just understanding what's out there and keeping up with the times, right? Because then you'll
100%
become irrelevant really quick, especially in the technology field that you're in.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your podcast and how often that's updated in your blog, and of course your courses. We want to hear all about that stuff. So give us a quick run.
So you made it sound like I am really busy, and I am very busy, but it's primarily with work. So the podcast has been dormant for about a year. However, I've transitioned from being a freelancer to I've partnered with another longtime freelancer this year. We started our own business, our own agency, which really we're still freelancers, but we're revamping the podcast as of October 1st. We're going to be doing 2 new episodes. So I'm really excited about that. The blog, again, everything sits dormant. It's kind of that old saying, right? It's the cobbler's children that never have new shoes, right? You're always busy, work, work, work. So the things that you're supposed to do that help push you forward always kind of take a backseat. So blogging is something, just in general, being able to kind of help communicate with freelancers is important to me. I remember being that dude driving to work every day and just feeling like I was listening to these podcasts and getting good information, but it just felt so beyond me. So it's really important for me through the podcast, through writing, through Hector, and through a course that I put out on being, making a full-time income as a WordPress developer. All that stuff is resurfacing, I guess you could say.
Yeah, great. I'd love to see you get back into it. And do you have is the course that you have now for freelancers updated, or how is that working?
It's not updated. In a perfect world, I'd love to sit down and really revamp it. But you can go to rjmccollam.com. The course is there. You can download everything. It's pretty much a 50-50 of, hey, here's how I approach business in terms of pricing, finding new clients, diving more into relationships, and then how I actually develop a theme, which is more than just how I develop it, but the reason I choose to make the decisions I do. So the end result for the user is something usable and friendly instead of just them getting stuck.
Nice. So is it specifically geared towards tech freelancers or WordPress freelancers more specifically?
The prerequisite there, I mean, you could download the course, I mean, realistically, and the business side of it, I think, is relevant to any freelancer, but it's good if you have some knowledge of HTML and CSS. I mean, I do kind of hop right into the dev side of it. And like I said, I show you how I do it, but a lot of it is why I do it the way I do it.
All right, good. So you have some new podcasts you said coming in October, right?
Yes.
So what's the name of that podcast? Is it going to be a new name?
Nope. Same name, the Freelance Podcast.
The Freelance Podcast, pretty difficult to remember. I don't think I'm going to spell it, but I'll put a link to it in the show notes. And what kind of format? Will it be an interview format, or are you going to be teaching a course every single podcast, something different, or what?
It's mostly going to be conversations between me and my partner. So I'm bringing on an official co-host who's my business partner, and we're going to be discussing a bunch of different topics, answering listener questions, the occasional interview, but it's more or less going to be our spin on particular topics.
Okay, cool. You take listener questions. I'm going to call in and just give some really, really difficult questions. See if I can
go for it, man. Well, hey, we got nothing to hide. We'll be honest. Maybe we tell you, hey, sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
All right. Will it be a monthly update or?
We're going to do bi-weekly.
Bi-weekly, okay.
I'd love to get back to weekly, which is what I did originally, but we're trying to set expectations here, and we're going to do bi-weekly.
All right. Well, let me know when it goes live. I'll put a little shout out to you on our social media platforms to let our audience know. But in the meantime, thanks so much for joining me, and hopefully we can stay in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, RJ. Bye.
Thanks.